Hey guys, welcome back to Tracie's Place. I am back with a new video, and as requested, Marriage Monday is back. Now, it probably won't be every Monday, but it will be, certain Mondays that I just talk about the topic of marriage. I've gotten a lot of requests, and so I said I better get started right now. This video, just dealing with in-laws, is one that is a big issue for many couples. So I thought I would get started with this. So here we go. First of all, going in, do not feel like this is a competition for that person's attention or love. You and your in-laws both love this person, whether it's the wife or the husband. You both love this particular person very much. And just know that while you both love this person, your roles are going to be different in this person's life. Coming into a new marriage, the in-laws have to know to take a step back and that the wife or the new husband is first in that person's life now. Going into a new family can be nerve-wracking. Everyone wants to be liked and loved, but not always is that the case. Knowing that the situation can go either way, you want to go into it being nice and being kind to your new in-laws. Unfortunately, you're either going to get one of two circumstances. You're going to get either a welcoming, loving family that wants you to come in and be yourself, or you're going to get contentious in-laws that are looking to pick you apart at any moment. I have known many situations where even though that person has not treated their in-laws bad and that they are not a morally bad person, they're a nice person, you have judgmental in-laws that are ready to size you up in any situation. Unfortunately, it's usually the mother-in-law and the sister-in-laws. Even when they have had a bad marriage themselves or they're not married at all, they want to interject feelings of self-doubt onto you and want to make you feel like you don't quite measure up. And some people are just not used to seeing how a loving marriage works, and they are used to dysfunction and just a messed up situation, and they're wondering how in the world are you doing this, and although not perfectly, how are you doing it well? And second, even though this is my opinion, but I believe a lot of experts would agree that you should not live with your in-laws under any circumstances unless it is an emergency. And by that, I'm meaning that you have been maybe living paycheck to paycheck and you don't have money saved up enough so that if you lose your job, that you don't have anything to float on. So in those circumstances, if an in-law opens their home to you out of love, of course, by all means do that. But for the most part, you do not want to live with your in-laws because it's almost impossible for you to, even starting out in the marriage, it is impossible for that man to be the head of the household or that woman, of course, to be the woman in her household and set up and run her house because she's lived. And I've known a lot of people that have lived with their in-laws for years and had problems, therein. So it is not a good idea. Also, it's not a good idea to accept. There are some mother-in-laws or mother and father-in-laws that want to help their children and give money on a regular basis. They want to pay the car notes so that the kids won't be under, stress. The married couple won't be under stress and different things like that. Those are the building blocks and foundation of a marriage is not necessarily struggling together, although there's going to be many struggles. So yes, struggling together, but you have to figure out things on your own for yourselves as a married couple. And anytime people give you monetary or things on a regular basis, that almost gives them the right in their eyes to interject what they feel or what they think should be going on in your household. And if they're giving you money, they're going to want, what are you spending it on? And how are you doing this, that, and the other? That is no way to live. By this time, you should have gotten all the lessons and teachings you need, from your parents on, being married. They should have taught you how to be a good wife or a good husband. And for some reason, if that hasn't happened, it is still time to cut the apron strings. But when you do need help, when you honestly need help in your marriage, it is a good thing to listen to wise counsel from your parents. If your parents are honestly trying to help you and your spouse, they love you both and you know they want the best for you, that's when it's time to listen, when they are speaking to you out of love. Next, and although I believe it is the wife's job to deal with her family, the husband's job to deal with his family as far as opinions go about what go on in their household, I also think it is a mother-in-law's and a father-in-law's kind of their responsibility too, to help with their children, as far as the children being their kids, in-laws, sister-in-laws, and brother-in-laws. Sometimes a mother-in-law can just set a bad tone because the sister-in-laws and brother-in-laws hear her saying bad things about this new husband or this new wife, and so they follow suit, the nitpicking and saying different things. There is no way that I would let my son's or daughter's spouse enter into our family and have my children, being their brother and sister-in-laws, basically tear them apart or make them feel uncomfortable, saying different things, and there's a lot of times when there's joking and lighthearted things going on in a family, at family dinners or family events or what have you, and that's all good. Sometimes people say things in a joking manner and it is a joke and you feel it, you feel the love and all that, and that's fine and good. Sometimes people say things with mean intentions and they pull it off as a joke when you know they meant it on purpose. And that's not cool. The next thing, you do not have to conform to the ways or traditions of your in laws. Even though you are part of the family and you want to take part in most of the traditions and different things like that, it's good to do that to form, some type of unity. You do not have to do everything exactly the way your in-laws do. There's going to be many different barbecues and Christmases, Thanksgivings, Easter's even, and birthdays and things where you're going to combine and converge. But you do not have to do things exactly like everyone else does. Sometimes people come over, your family comes over, they're used to, in their family, staying, all evening. They may say come at 2 o'clock and they don't have any ending in sight for it. You may not have been raised like that, or not even just it was what you're used to. It's just something you don't want to do. You may just want to have something from 2 to 6, and that's okay. It is your home, and your in-laws have to respect that, and they have to know that you're not trying to be funny doing that or whatever. That's just the way you want it done. You want to start time and you want to end time. Also, if you're used to, you know eating different things, or and you can incorporate those things into it, that your in-laws want to eat. Of course, make people feel comfortable and have the foods that they like as well. You do not have to decorate or serve exactly the way they do. If you're used to fancy things and you want to put out dinnerware or whatever, feel free. It's your home. And a lot of times, especially on the wife's end, you're the one that is kind of the setup, and you kind of know how you want it to run. A lot of times the husband, it doesn't make him any difference. So if you want to do formal, do that. If you want to do paper plates, do that. Nobody has a right to dictate what you do at your home. This can also be an issue when your children are involved. It could be from the being in the labor room when the wife is giving labor. I know a lot of people like to have their families in there. Sometimes she may be good and comfortable with her family seeing her like that, but of course not other people, being his family or anybody else, seeing her like that. And I've known some families to have an issue with that. It could be, you know, they're used to the grandkids staying at the grandparents all the time, almost being like the grandparent is a second parent, and maybe that spouse is not used to that. So you have to talk and confer with each other on how you're going to raise your children and how much the in-laws are going to be involved or not involved. And I'll give 4 examples just from my personal life, just because it's not things that are right or wrong on my family's part or my husband's family's part. They were just different. I'm just trying to give you kind of an idea of how you can be different, and you have to kind of talk about these things when you get married, what things that you are going to do and things that you're not going to do, with the in-laws or what have you. And I'll start with my family first. There's 2 things my husband just did not get. So the first thing was, when we first got married, he'd be having a phone conversation or whatever, and this is when we had the wall phones, the house phones. Most everybody had a house phone. So your conversation was halfway public, halfway not, unless you were in a room closed off. But a lot of times he might be on the phone with somebody, and I kind of knew who that person was, and I'd be like, "Oh, what was y'all talking about?" And, "Oh, what did they say?" And da 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 da. And he'd be like, "That was my conversation." And I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you have something to hide?" And it wouldn't be anybody that he'd have something to hide with, but it was just kind of I'm like, I was used to having that, basically all my life. If my sister or my mom or something was on a conversation with, say, like a cousin or an aunt or something like that, it was very common that we basically repeated the whole conversation when we got off the phone, just about. It wasn't a big thing to ask, "Oh, what did they say? What they been up to?" Or, "What was y'all talking about?" Blah, blah, blah. My husband was just like, no, that's my conversation, Mom." So that was one thing. And so the second thing, he just was, feeling a little different about it, was new to him, was that at my house, at my family dinners on my side of the family, we would talk about everything, like, in depth, and we could get heated at the conversation, but afterwards we'd be just fine. We'd talk about religion and politics and, this, that, and the other, and, bring all that up, and we'd be talking about while we're eating, in depth and blah 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 blah, and be direct and everything. And he was not used to that. So that was something that, 2 things that he was kind of like, "Ugh," when he came into my family. And then 2 things that were, I guess, surprising to me, or an issue for me, was that on his side of the family, when they would go out of town, they would let one of their siblings house sit. And I remember the first time we were going out of town or something, he was like, "I'll get so and so to come over while we're going." I'm like, "Hmm? Come over for what?" He's like, "Oh, to house sit." I said, "House sit for what? We have an alarm." And so that wasn't a thing that we did on my side of the family. And more so than that, some things are not like a negotiable. It takes 2 yeses and 1 no for the most part in relationship. And just like certain things that he didn't like coming in, there are certain things I didn't like. And so that was one thing I was like, no, no. And even my in-laws are nice people, they not thieves and, stuff like that. But I was like, no, they're not coming. No, nobody's coming in my house. I didn't feel comfortable with anybody, whether it be my friend, in-law, whatever, coming and staying in my house when I was not home. It just felt like an invasion of my privacy or whatever. Just didn't. That's my personal space. My home is my personal space, so I didn't see what the thing was with that. So, and then the second thing was that they didn't mind letting each other drive each other's cars. And that was something I wasn't used to either. And like I said, there's some things that, you don't have a problem with, and some things you do have a problem with. And I was like, no. When they would go out of town, they would drive each other's car. I guess if one had a better car, a more durable car, they would drive their siblings' car out of town. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that, because if my car gets scratched up, or our car, whatever, my car gets scratched up, I'm not going to be happy. And, those feelings could fester. And then you get into the thing of, somebody got to pay me some money if my car gets damaged, or, all this stuff. And I was like, no, I'm not even going to start nothing like that. We're not doing that. So those are 2 examples of 2 things that he was surprised at and couldn't get the concept of, and 2 things that I was surprised at and couldn't get the concept of either. So you basically just have to talk amongst yourselves as a married couple and see if there are things you want to bring from the outside into your marriage, different traditions you want to bring into your household, or there are things that you are not going to bring into your household from either one of your families. And the last thing on the daily issues and different things that go on in your household, if you are not emotionally or physically being harmed by your spouse, do not inform your in-laws of the day-to-day arguments, difficulties, and issues that come up in your marriage, because you have some mature in-laws and you have some immature in-laws, and those immature or petty in-laws will not let you live it down. And sometimes, regardless of if it's a good in-law or a bad in-law, after you two have made up and are happy and on your way, and I won't say you have forgot, but you're on your way, you're happy, you're doing well, that in-law has not forgotten what you have done, and it will be in the back of their mind. Sometimes it can bring tension in the family, and it can cause them to shouldn't, but it can cause them to treat you differently or treat you badly or whatever. So keep your marriage issues and your marital problems between yourselves. Now, if you get into a real bad stick, divorce is on the loom or something like that, and you have mature in-laws that love you, not just you, love you both and are for your marriage, then that's when you inform them, okay, we've gotten to the spot, we cannot get past it, and we're thinking about divorce, blah blah blah. Then maybe at that time it may be good to inform someone in your family, your in-laws, that you think you can really get help from, good, godly, wise counsel. But otherwise, keep your business in your home. And just a message to the in-laws: when you have a new person coming in, whether it be your son-in-law, daughter-in-law, sister, or brother-in-law, be kind to that person. Know that your loved one loves this person, and even though your brother, sister, or son or daughter was born into your family, that's basically the extent that they love you and everything, but they were born into your family. But they have chosen this person to spend the rest of their life with and to be united with. So be careful to support and love that person. And sometimes you may be thinking, oh, well, he's way different from us, or she's way different from us. Maybe they chose that person just for that reason, because they are different from what he's used to or what she's used to. So don't be offended, but just love and support that person and be kind to them. And if they've given you any other reason to treat them otherwise, still be kind to them, love and support them, and then pray for them. All right, guys, so that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I just want to leave you with, just know that going into a family doesn't always mean there's going to be a kumbaya moment, but do know that you can develop and foster love and a good relationship with your in-laws. And when it is impossible, like I said, pray for that person or those people. So if you have any questions or any comments, please leave them down below. I will be happy to answer them. Sometimes I know some people have questions and they don't want to other people to know who they are, so you are welcome to email me. My email is down below in the description box. So yeah, do that if you want to be discreet. And if I get enough questions, I'll do a part 2 with all of your questions. All right, love you all, be blessed, happy marriage to you all, and I'll see you next time right back here on Tracie's Place. Bye.